Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and in this tutorial I am going to explain you what are the functions in Python, how to create a function and call it with some simple examples. So without further ado, let's get into it. A function is nothing but a block of organized or a reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. Function provides a better modularity for your application and a higher degree of code reusing. So as you already know that Python gives us many built-in functions like a print function for example, but we can create our own function. So these functions are also called as a user-defined functions. We can define functions to provide the required functionality. There are some specific rules to define a function in Python. So the first one is function blocks begin with a keyword def, which is a def keyword, followed by the function name and the parenthesis. Second one is any input parameters or an argument should be placed within that parenthesis. We can also define parameters inside this parenthesis. The code block within every function starts with a colon and it should be indented. Our next topic is how to create a function. So as we have already discussed that in Python a function is created by using a def, which is a def keyword. So here is an example in which we have defined our function named function1 with one print command. This is how you create a function in Python. So first let me show you how to create a function with some simple example. So this is a Python command line, and for our first example we are going to define one function named a function1. So for defining a function we use a def keyword, which is a def, and again we use the function name. So our first function name will be function1. After that we have to give the parenthesis in which we are going to input our arguments or a parameters. So in this case we will not give any parameters or a arguments, we will leave it as a blank, and next we have to give the colon. After hitting enter, as you can see we are into the function now. So for giving any piece of code, first we have to give the indentation. So just give one indentation and we will give some print command in our function. So our print command will print hello world. So this is how you create a function. So our next topic is how to call a function. So for calling the function we have to use the function name followed by the parenthesis. So as you can see in this example we have defined the function name function2, which is printing the hello Python word, hello Python string. So for calling the function we just have to use the function name and the parenthesis. So let me show you how to call a function. As we have already created our function named function1, which will be printing that string named hello world. So for calling the function we have to give our function name, which is a function1 and the parenthesis. After we hit enter, as you can see we have called our function name function1, which is executing the print function that we have given inside the function1. Our next topic is the arguments. So the information can be passed into a function as an arguments or a parameters. So the arguments are specified after the function name and inside the parenthesis. So we can add as many arguments as we want. Just we have to separate them with comma. So the following example has a function with one argument, which is a fname. So when function is called, we pass along the first name, which is used inside the function to print the full name. Let me show you how to pass the arguments in the function with some simple example. So for this example, first we will define our function. So our function name will be a function2, and into the parenthesis this time we will pass some argument. So in this case we are going to pass argument fname, which will be the first name. After that just give the colon. Same procedure we have to follow. After hitting enter we have to give the indentation to write our piece of code into the function. So in this case we will print argument which is a fname plus, and we will give some string. So this is the first name, so in this case we will give the last name. So this is the last name. So this is how you define a function with argument in it. So after hitting enter, as you can see, our function has been created. So to call our function, just give the function name, which is a function2, and in parenthesis this time we need to pass some argument. So in this case we need to pass the first name, which is a fname. So for first name we will give Erica, which is a string data type. So after hitting enter, so as you can see, our argument which we have given whenever we are calling the function, and the argument is passed into our function, and our piece of code, which is a print function, is executing. So you might ask, what really the difference between a parameter and the argument? So the terms parameters and arguments can be used for the same thing, which is nothing but the information that we are passing into a function. So from a function's perspective, a parameter is a variable listed inside the parenthesis in the function definition, and an argument is the value that is sent to the function when it is called. So our next topic is the number of arguments. So by default, a function must be called with the correct number of arguments. It means that if your function expects 2 arguments, we have to call a function with 2 arguments, not more and not less. Otherwise it will show the error. Let me show you how. Let's consider we will define a function named function3, which are having 2 arguments, namely first name, and in this case we will also use the L name, which is a last name. So our function name function3 has 2 parameters. Just give the colon, and after giving the indentation we will print fname plus an empty string plus the last name, which is a L name. So as you can see, this is our function definition. So for passing the arguments in our function, we just need to give the function name, which is a function3, and in this case, as we all know that our function has 2 arguments that we can pass. So but this time we will pass 3 arguments. Let's see what happens. We will give 3 arguments. So here we are calling our function with the 3 arguments. So after hitting enter, as you can see, it is showing the error like function3 takes 2 positional arguments but the 3 were given. So it is clearly saying that we should only give the 2 arguments in our function. So let's try to. So this time we will give 2 arguments, first name and last name. After hitting enter, as you can see, our 2 arguments are getting passed to the function and the print function is executing. So I hope you understood what are the functions in Python, how to create a function, how to call a function, what are the arguments, the difference between the arguments and parameters, and the number of arguments that we can pass with some simple examples. I hope you like my video, so please subscribe to my channel and also ring the notification bell to get the latest updates. Thanks for watching.